The issue of back to South is still very much alive in the People's Democratic Party. What we have said is that since there has been no zoning for now, of course we have a few more hours and a few more days to go before the primaries. We believe that ultimately, if there is no zoning, then the people must zone. That is, the delegates themselves will have to do the zoning. And the way for the delegates to do the zoning is by their vote. And we in the South firmly believe that the delegates of the People's Democratic Party will cast their votes in such a way that it affirms the Back to South agenda.
Okay. Are you in any way worried about the refusal of the President to sign the Electoral Act, the provision for which bars some people from voting many years off, and also limit the capacity of the voters
As the
delegates?
Well, no, I'm not worried. I think for me as an aspirant, it means a smaller electoral college. But yes, the issue of deepening of democracy and more participation is clearly at stake. Well, it's not the president's fault. It's the error came from us in the National Assembly. So at least for this one, you cannot blame the president. And if he decides not to sign, then it is his prerogative. As with every bill that emanates from the National Assembly, the president has the prerogative to either sign or not sign. Those are the powers conferred on him by our Constitution. So, no, I don't. We just have to live with it.
Some people are still thinking it's killing on the fly with the sledgehammer.
Which fly? Which fly? Which one is the fly? Which one is the sledgehammer?
That is the refusal to sign, but it will limit. Like you said, deepening democracy, but it will limit the number of electoral college.
Well,
it might affect some people's voting strength, voting pattern.
Well, if you look at it in terms of pure democracy, then the issue of an electoral college are people who are elected by the wider party. That is what forms the electoral college. So the idea is that in indirect primaries, people elect people to represent them in an electoral college. So in terms of pure democracy, he's not really straying too far from the tree.
So, leaving the strength of...
Well, the truth is that the PDP is the only true political party in Nigeria. The other one is a contraption that was put together by strange bedfellows, and we are seeing that play out today in everything they do. So that's number one. Number two, the track record of the PDP over 20 years or 22 years in Cross River State is there for all to see. The problems that we have had in the PDP were when the current governor came into the PDP, and he has carried those problems with him to the APC. So the track record that the PDP has is, in fact, the PDP is the most successful political platform that has ever been produced in Cross River State. From day one, in fact, you can go as far back as the amalgamation. There has been no more successful political association, party, you call it whatever it is, than the People's Democratic Party, and that is a fact. And so that is why people should vote for the PDP, because the PDP has been a record of success upon success upon success.
It's the same wisdom of PDP that brought Ayade, and the leaders of PDP are yet to maybe apologize to.
No. I won't accept that. Yes, Ayade was our candidate, but we all voted for him. We Cross Riverians all voted for Ayade. So don't. Yes, he was a candidate of the PDP, but all of us voted for him. And it's not. We all voted for Buhari. Well, we didn't vote because we're a PDP state, but Nigerians in general voted for Buhari, and we can see the outcome today. So voters generally go with the promises that are made by the candidates. It is not the fault of the voter if the candidate, who later becomes the elected official, does not keep to his promises. That can no longer be blamed on the electorate. The electorate have done their part, which is they ask you, what are you going to do for us? You roll out a manifesto, and based on your manifesto, they vote for you. Now, if you go in there and you can't perform, or you stray completely off your manifesto, how do you now blame the political party or blame the voter? It's not their fault, it is your fault. You, the elected official.
Well, looking.
Well, let's look at it. About winning elections.
Yeah, those
Oh, if it's winning elections, our candidates are the best so far. In terms of pure electability, they are the best so far. I'm comparing them with those that are coming out of the consensus arrangement in the APC. By far, in the South, for instance, every single candidate that has emerged so far will beat anybody in the APC. That one is predicting that, and I think that's the truth. In the Central, the same thing. I mean, just recently, Atao Chinke emerged, former Attorney General. Who is going to beat him? No, there's nobody to beat Atao Chinke, and so on. And we'll see more emerging tomorrow in the senatorial race, and of course in the governorship. The PDP is poised to reclaim Cross River, or take Cross River State back from the APC.
Okay, talking about electability of candidates, in the PDP, the governorship aspirants, can you tell us why you think they should go for you?
For me?
Yes.
Well, it's clear. I'm the most electable candidate. We're talking about the 2023 elections. Of all the people that have come out in the PDP, I'm the most electable. I'm the most competitive. Of course, we know that the consensus candidate of the APC is Senator Prince Bassey too, my friend. But we also know that none of them, the only person that has contested an election against Prince Otu is me, and we know the record. So therefore, I'm the most electable of all the candidates or the aspirants in the PDP. And if the PDP really wants to win the election in 2023 and wants to do execute the agenda that we in the PDP have for Cross River State, then you have to go with the most electable candidate, and that is me. So it's really up to my delegates, it's up to my peers to also come to that determination. But I think they have come to that determination, so we'll see it in the field on Wednesday or Thursday.
So from me, sir, please, sir.
For instance, if you have a candidate that is already being supported by the Central, then what is the South waiting for? If the Central is already supporting a candidate in the South, then what is the South waiting for? Particularly if that candidate is a senator and has performed creditably, if not fantastically, has done very well. Now, if you have that type of candidate, and the Central is saying they will support this candidate, then why are you dragging your feet? Why are we going to look for candidates that are, that don't have those credentials? Weak. Do you understand what I'm saying? A candidate where you have to go and introduce him to the Central, or a candidate that you have to go and introduce to the North. No. You have a candidate that the Central says, this is the man we like. The North says, we don't mind this guy. And then you are going to look for a man that nobody knows, or somebody that you have to now go and start introducing to them. It's not the way you play politics. In politics, you look for the path of least resistance. That's how everybody plays politics. So if you want to go and pick a councillor, for instance, you first thing you ask is, where is the zoning in this constituency, this councillorship constituency? Which village have they agreed is the turn of? They say it's village B, is the turn of village B. You go and pick in village B. That is the path of least resistance. And then when you pick in that village B, you know that village A and C are going to support B because they say it's their turn. Do you understand? So you don't make the work hard in politics. You try to make the work easy.
No, governorship aspirants here that both in central and south, that have bought senatorial form in addition to governorship form?
Well, first of all, since you have mentioned Governor Wiki,
Yes.
let me just say that Governor Wiki has done extremely well for Cross River State.
Yes.
He has supported us in our struggles for justice in the party. He has supported us in our by-elections for the last by-elections where we won in the Akpabio constituency, and of course we had a problem in the Oguja constituency. So I must commend Governor Wike for his support, his brotherly support for the PDP in Cross River State. That's number one. Number two, you say people buying forms. Well, I have not bought any other form apart from governorship. I don't know, I can't speak for anybody else, but I have not bought any other form. I'm offering myself because I believe that we must save this party and save the state. So that's why I'm offering myself for this assignment.
Okay. Just a follow-up, sir, please. Since you're offering yourself and you believe also in the Back to South agenda, which means zoning and even sub-zoning and all of that, has PDP given consideration to Akampa Biase in the South for senatorial ticket?
I think that it depends on the people that come out. So far for the Senate, we have two candidates, or two aspirants. Eko going from Odubani and Joeded from Akampa. So I'm sure that if we begin to do a zoning arrangement, which we have not done in the PDP, those things will be taken into consideration. But for now, there's no such arrangement. Of course, you know that in the South, the South is quite peculiar because this whole zoning thing in the South is very fluid. In my constituency, federal constituency where I come from, Akampa, Biase, Bassey, sorry, I said Akampa, Calabar South, Akpabio, Bassey. We have just elected Isenayi to go back a sixth time to the House of Reps, and they elected him with joy. You understand? The people of Calabar South, Akpabio, and Bassey elected him with joy. There was no protest. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that shows that in those constituencies, there is no zoning. They are okay, whoever comes out. Yeah. But in other constituencies, you are limited to a certain number of terms in your. So I don't know what was your question. Something about zoning, but.
For Kampa,
for me, I think that we have always worked towards that, but we will get there soon.
Sorry, please. Talking about ease of doing business in Cross River State, the issue of multiple taxation is a huge problem. Just recently, when you come.
Well, me, I'm a big proponent of devolution of power. I'm big on it. I think power should be devolved from first of all, the federal government has too much power. So you should devolve power from the federal government to the states and then to the local governments. Now, if you do a proper devolution of power, that is a constitutional amendment, you will begin to see that some of these issues will just fade away. The problem you have now is that there's too much involvement of the state government in the affairs of the local government. And that's where all these problems come from. So I think the solution lies with us in the National Assembly. In our constitutional amendment, which is a living thing, we keep amending the Constitution. We must find, we've done it in this constitutional amendment, which will soon go around the states. We've devolved some power, but we have to devolve more to the states and the local governments. And the states in turn have to devolve power to the local governments.
Now you're thinking we're talking about strengthening the democracy. What's up the issue of judicial independence and local government independence? Are you likely going to handle this? Because it's also hard to reduce the power and the content of administration. Is it possible for you to go back to the bill and see what you can do?
Well, that's what we're doing. We're devolving power in all three arms of government, even especially the judiciary. The idea that a state government is responsible for paying the salaries of judicial officers doesn't make sense. The idea that a state government, that is the executive, is responsible for paying salaries of the House of Assembly doesn't make sense. There must be complete independence of the three branches of government, the pure independence. It will help us, it will make our democracy better, and it will make our governance better. No, not really. I think we've done well as a party, and for any sensible candidate, you try to treat all aspirants as part of your constituency. So for me, there's no problem. And if it is those that you feel, if your question is, did I support anybody, and how did they fare? Yes. I think that's your answer.
Yeah, exactly.
No, everybody is. I supported everybody. I think that's about 600. With this reduced electoral college, I think it's about 600. A good thing. If Lil, did you not enjoy Lil's government?
We did.
So, if he wants to have a third term through me, is it not a good thing? And if somebody who is the leader of the central and can deliver major local governments in the central wants to support somebody in the south who can also deliver major local governments in the south, are we not halfway to, or even 3/4 of the way to achieving governor in PDP? Where is the problem?